Hi, I wanted to record a video for you guys to walk you through how to look good on camera. So we haven't talked about that yet, and it's important. It's important for when you're on things like Zoom and Teams, having a meeting that's live, like for example, a job interview, when you need to make sure that you present yourself, your best foot forward, so that you can impress people on the fly. But it's also important when you're making videos that you're recording, just how to make sure that you frame yourself right, how to make sure that your background's set up right, how to make sure that you look the best you possibly can. So that's what this video is about. So I'm going to minimize myself so you can see the picture behind me here. This right here is how most of us do this class. We have our rooms as a disaster around us, but as you can see in this picture, that's what direction it's that way. She has behind her little camera, she has things set up. There's a bookshelf. It looks pretty straight. The wall behind her is blank and white. It looks more or less professional. I think it looks pretty boring. It looks terrible, really. But it would get her a job. It looks clean. The camera, if it had been showing the other side, the rest of her room, it would probably not get her a job. It looks like I don't know what happened here. It looks like a grenade went off in her room, right? So that's what most of us do. And that's a really good start. If you're already doing that, good job. If you are not doing that already, that's the basics. That's what you should be doing. And so that is simply being aware of what your camera can see and then making sure that you set up everything behind you. There's a default that you can do, and that's blurring the background behind you. But as we're about to see, that is not a good choice. Blurring the background behind you is a cop-out. It says to the people watching your video that you are not ready for this experience. It tells them that you didn't have time to actually set up your background, right? So this is a job interview. It's telling them that you had something to hide back there or you didn't have time to clean it up. It's not a good look. And there are other reasons why we shouldn't do that. So I'll get to that in a second. But a better way to do it is to not use that blurring software. Not to mention it also slows down your connection for some people. So better than blurring that background is to set it up intentionally. In my office, which is where you're welcome to it, I have toys all around me. That's just how it is literally every direction in my office. That's what I like to have for my working conditions because I have ADHD and chaos works for me. My chaos works for me. But it also works well for a background. Maybe that wouldn't work for you. Sometimes I see students do a lot of different things. You could hang a flag behind you, as long as it's not an offensive flag in any way. Like it should never be the South's flag. The Confederacy flag, that should never be seen in anything. That's a traitor flag for a country that existed for 5 years. Yeah, get rid of it. Other things that are offensive would be countries that are actively at war. So, think about that. If the country you're wanting to put behind you is at war, then you might not get the job you're going for if the person who's interviewing you has people who are being murdered by the people who you're supporting with your flag. So be thinking that you always want to be doing audience analysis. Who is going to be looking at this video? Who's going to be looking at you? So better would be colors, patterns. There's all sorts of tapestries you can find on Amazon for very, very cheap, but also just anywhere. Cloth. Hanging a bed sheet works. You could also do things that are themed with what you're currently working on or what you're presenting to the audience. So anyway, for me, it works to have this bookshelves like this put with this woman in this picture. That works great too, but something behind you. So let's keep going with my presentation here and let's talk about how to make yourself look perfect. All right. So first off, like I said, background intentional. So in this picture, there's a lot of bad things happening, right? So first off, having nothing, that's just a good example for when you're in like a meeting where you're in classes. A lot of students like to have their cameras off. If you want to do that, that's 100% great. It's your choice. But I wanted to let you know that that does make an impression, as in none. It makes an impression, a negative impression. And it tells whoever's there that you don't want to be there, which might be fine. It might be totally great. But in a lot of situations, you don't want that. Maybe you want that professor to give you help later, and they don't even know who you are. So turn your camera on if you're going to be in an online meeting, but then make your background intentional. This woman right here in the upper left corner, she has the most intentional background. It's good. There's still a couple things problematic with this, but like we're looking up her nose, if you notice, like it clearly looks weird. She looks like, I feel like we're in judgment. But the other two down here, your background is your pillow and you're laying in bed. That's sit up, get in, get with it. And then this one, Nobody's looking at him. They're looking at this giant picture behind him with this lizard with human hands. That is so distracting. I had a student who would do this all the time. He would use a digital background, and it would always be some colors that would be brighter than himself, and so he would kind of fade into it. It's a disaster. That's not what you want. You want people to see you, and you want to be seen. You want to be shown in your shot. That's the whole point of you being in the shot, right? So if you're attending class and stuff, of course, you might do literally anything you want. But I want to talk to you about we're talking here about how to look good, how to make sure that you look intentional. So make your background something that you did on purpose. This guy, I think this is a good example of why you don't want to use a digital background that makes it look like you're at the beach or something, are these weird, disgusting artifacts. All this weird black stuff and like his hand vanishing, and like when you touch yourself to like the side of your head and it makes like all those weird artifacts. Look, he's got like divots in the top of his head. When I see somebody presenting like this, giving like a full presentation, and this all is flickering around them, that's all I look at. I know I'm neurodiverse, I have ADHD, but that is literally all I see. I end up looking at all of those defects and thinking, like, oh no, that's all I'm looking at. I wish I could look at the actual presentation, but I'm paying attention to those. You don't want your audience to do that, right? No, nobody does. Nobody does. Hopefully your audience won't. But a way to avoid that is if this guy had simply had literally anything behind him. A blank white wall would do better. I've had students in the past use this. One guy, and he had his background blurred, and I was like, oh, told him not to do this, but oh well, I'm not going to correct him, not in the middle of class. And he scratched his head in the middle of a speech like this. I'll show you, like he did this. Well, when he did that, it like created a magic window with his arm here. And so we saw for just a brief moment right behind him. And behind him was his bed. And the guy was into Warhammer 40,000 and was apparently halfway through building an army. And there were all these plastic sprues, like half cut up, just like all over his bed, just like stacked up really high. It looked like it was just a mess. And I was like, dude, clean it up and turn that off. Like we all saw it anyway. And to this day, I have no idea what his speech was about. This was 3 years ago. But I don't know what his speech was about, but I do remember this. I remember seeing that and going, oh no. Well, I guess I have a good example now to talk about that. So, right, if you're using these moments while you're online because you want to get a job or you're making videos that you want to make money off of, these are things to think about. If you're just making videos to pass this class, these of course aren't things that you're going to get like, you're not going to lose tons of points and fail my class. No, but if you want to make the best videos possible, these are things that I do want you to be thinking about. Because I do want you to make the best videos possible. I want you to. I want to be very proud of your work as well. So I want you guys to make really cool, kick-ass videos. So hopefully that makes sense, right? I'm on the exact same team as you. I want the stuff that you make to be awesome. So, yeah. So that's one reason. That is the reason that I don't. Well, there's two reasons. One reason is I don't want you to have your background blurred because it dips into you and it's persnickety. It like cuts out little pieces of you. The other reason that it's a really bad idea to use background blur is that it really detects a specific spot, right? Like it only keeps you in when you're in a specific spot. If you were to lean back, I've had many students who in the middle of a speech will lean back for some reason, like they laugh or they whatever, and then they disappear and all we see is a stomach sitting here, or they lean forward and then they get blurred out, or it's the same thing happening, but they will hold up a visual aid, like they'll hold up a prop and they'll be like, hey, here's my picture. That will never work unless you hold the picture at the exact same level from the camera as yourself. So they'll hold it up to the camera, hey, look at my thing, and it's gone. They'll be like, oh, I'm giving you a speech about how I made this mug, how I got it printed at Walgreens. And so that's my how-to, is how to do that, because you might want to get mugs printed at Walgreens for Christmas. So first I designed this drawing. I drew it. It's me and my boyfriend because he's Hufflepuff and I'm Slytherin. And so, right, you'd go through all that. But if you hold it up to the camera, as soon as you go up here, blur. And then you're like, oh no. And your speech is off the rails. That's a mess. Nobody wants that, right? Nobody wants that. So the better way to do that is to not use blur at all. Just don't do it. Then it's not messing with you. It's not messing up your thing. Instead, set up your location. Something else you can do when you set up your location is you can use tricks to set it up. So I had a student who, hearing this advice, she took it to the nines, and I wish I had this speech still recorded to show you as an example. But this was before, in the days when I didn't have stuff recorded. So if any of you do this, I would love to use your speech as an example. But she went to her garage to record her speech. And so she's doing her speech, and she looked professional, and she had it looked like a big, like a ficus, like a potted tree that she was kind of behind while she was doing her speech. And at the end of her speech, I was like, where are you? You look like you're in like an office of some kind. And no, she was just on her knees, sitting in front of a bench, like a workout bench, and she had put two very tiny potted plants, but she had put them in front of her to block so you couldn't see the garage, but they looked like they were behind her because of how big they were, and they just movie magic. It was amazing. You can do that too. You can do anything you want, right, when you're framing your shot. So be thinking about all of that in this class. How are you going to frame your shot? What are you going to do about all that? How are you going to make yourself look good intentionally? What's your background going to be? So let's go on to the next slide. The next one is, so I said, frame your shot. I just said all this. So you can see this is two pictures of the exact same shot, right? So here in this picture, she looks great. She looks professional. She's on the news. Yeah. The only thing really missing here would be some nice warm lighting if she had. But in the actual picture, she's in her underwear. And she's got kids' toys. She's got, the place is a disaster. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter because this is the world we live in, right? I'm wearing a tank top. I'm at home. Do you know how I smell? Of course you don't. You have no idea. That's the beauty of working from home. So use it to your advantage. Use all of this to your advantage. So yeah, we already discussed this picture, same exact idea. Your bedroom does not need to be, it doesn't need to be looking like it's from your bed. Don't make it look like you're taking a video just from your office computer with your bed behind you. You could do whatever you want. Make it look creative. Get interesting. This is a good way to explain spacing, right? So it's a good idea to have a big area in the middle for where your face will be. So the way I have myself framed in my shot right now, I'm going to show you. The way I have myself framed in my shot, I intentionally put my head between two bookshelves, if you can see. And that's because I have the chaos around me. If I was to rotate my laptop, which I'm not going to do, because there's a chaos around the laptop as well, ADHD. But if I was to rotate it, you would see that, you can kind of see if I... Over to this side, there's a window, just right there. And then to this side, this other shelf, this one keeps going that direction. So any other place where I put my head, if I put it over to this side, if I put my head over to this side, I kind of get a little lost in the middle of all that. But you can kind of see there's the blank white space there in the middle. That's why I'm putting my head there in the middle between these shelves. It's the only white space, the way my office is set up. This is a tiny office. So you kind of want to aim for the white space to put yourself, is really what I'm going for here. But get creative and do whatever you want. There's another thing I'm doing here with where I place my face, which is the rule of thirds, which I'll get to in a second. But you can also do things where you go off to the side, right? No problem with that either. But like I say in this little picture here, in my other diagram here, things like you can put things around to break up for interest. If you have just a blank white space, sometimes students will film in their kitchen maybe, where they just have a blank white wall. That works, but you really do want something around you for interest. Like in this picture, something else to point out, if somebody was filming with themselves right here in the middle of this circle, the reason that this framing works is not only because they're in the middle, it's because there's a triangle around them, right? There's stuff here, and then there's stuff up here, and then there's stuff down here. So that makes a triangle. Stuff up in the corner, up in the upper top here, and then down on the bottom, each corner. So that triangle makes a frame around your face, which is interesting. So the main thing that you want to do is just to make sure that your background is interesting, right? So for example, with mine, my office is filled with toys. It's filled with all this stuff that I have because that's what I work best around because I have ADHD and this is my style of ADHD. So I have intentionally put myself in the one, you can kind of see, blank white spot that is in my office. So I've angled myself in that little spot and I've tried to make sure that what's around me is interesting, at least. At least the shapes are, right? I don't put myself in the middle of a box. So I could have turned my camera and put myself in the middle of this giant wall of shelvage behind me, but then you just would have lost me in the dark patch of stuff. It's very intentional that this light is off to the side and that this window is off to that direction, and it's intentional that this light shines off of this wall into my face so that you get light from two different directions. It's intentional that this light cuts down across this side intentionally behind me. So that's all intentional. So what are you going to do to make your space intentionally interesting around you? That's really the trick, is just to make it look intentionally interesting, right? So what are you going to do for yours? You have the space you have, you can do anything with. You could hang cloth up. You could hang anything. Anything works. Bed sheets work, right? Pillowcases work. Clothes work. I've seen people tack T-shirts up. You might think, "Oh my God, that's gonna look really tacky." Give it a shot. See what you come up with. Smoke and mirrors is the term for what you're gonna do. You're just gonna make it look good for the video for right now, and that's it. After that's over, it doesn't need to stay up. It's gonna go away. So just try something. All right, let's keep moving. So the next thing that you want to make sure to talk about is putting your camera at eye level. So as I have right now with my camera with you. So if you have it down low, like this guy does in this, it's not very flattering, is it? Like, we're looking up his nose. You don't want people to be able to see how good your nose hair trimming routine is. You just don't want that. So having people look up your nose is bad. It also, you can see then his knuckles, it gets all weird. And it's not flattering as far as the pudginess goes. It makes him look fatter. So you do not want that. You want to be looking at eye level, ideally. If you have a camera, it's best to put it at literally the eye level of yourself. So I use my laptop to film. And so I intentionally have a stand that I have my laptop up on top of to get the camera to not be down lower. Because laptops, if I was recording with you, I would actually be looking down at you, which is also not flattering. When you have your face hanging forward, all that skin comes hanging forward with it. There's an entire episode of Golden Girls about this. It's a really old show. But I'm an old man, so I know what I'm talking about. But you want it eye level. That's what's most eye-catching. So right there, that's the best level for you to be at. It's the good one. You also want to frame yourself in the actual picture. So notice how this picture is divided into 3 sections, right? So there's a rule in art called the rule of thirds. You want to take up about a third or 2/3 of the shot. So her, in this picture, she put herself right in the middle, so she's taking up a third of the picture. Myself, I like to be large in my picture, so I'm taking up 2/3 of my shot. If I make myself larger, you'll notice. I'm not in the center of the picture, am I? I'm off to the side. I'm leaving room for that light over there to kind of come down through the back, and I'm taking up 2/3 of the shot. I'm making myself look intentionally larger, because that's how I want to come across. What about you? What are you going to do? Right? But think about it. Intentionally think about it. Some students put themselves in the middle and they intentionally take up 1/2 of the picture. And that's just an interesting thing to know. It's not as eye-catching. It just doesn't look as good. Humans like to see things broken up into thirds. We do. So either take up 1/3 or 2/3. If you take up the entire thing, if I'm just like, hey, I'm giving you my speech like this, that tends to be too much, right? Too much of a good thing. So take up 1/3 to 2/3 and divide it up in your mind. Next one is your lighting. So this is a lot of good examples of how lighting can go wrong. And lighting is a difficult thing to go right? So first, this one over here, you do not want to be backlit. This is a really common mistake with students. because it can be hard to tell it's happening to you until you're halfway through your filming. But if you are backlit, you're just a shadow. And if this happens during like a job interview or something, you come across looking like I don't know, like a mysterious person. It's not what you want. So be sure you are not ever backlit. Overblown, harsh shadows, that's when you have too much light coming on you. Harsh shadows is too much light from one direction. Overblown is too much light just right in your face. And those are bad, but that's if you're going to default any one direction, those are the worst one. And then underlit, this picture's pretty bad for it, but that's where the light would just be coming only from below. It looks kind of shocking and mysterious. It's not a really good picture for it, but the best way to do this is to use light that is coming at you indirectly. So that's what I'm using in my office. I have lights that I have aimed up there and over there, aimed to come off the walls and off the ceiling to then bounce around and come back at me. Gives me a nice warm glow. But if I aim these lights directly at my face, it would look more like this. And I'd be like, hi, I'm teaching. I could do this. I could record this entire video with this light directly at my face, but you could see I start to look a little, well, you can see every wrinkle on my forehead now. That's really flattering. I just aged 1,000 years. Anyway, you get my point. So like reflected light is best. Whatever you're going to do though, try it out and then start filming, because film it once and see, because a lot of cameras, your laptop camera, your phone camera will do this especially, will adjust for a lot of that stuff. So you probably don't need to do anything special for your lighting, except just make sure you aren't backlit. That guy over there. That's a really common mistake, and the phones usually can't fix it. So just make sure to film once and take a look. Look at your film before you turn it in to anything, not just this class. And just make sure that you have it exactly as you want it. So make sure that makes sense. Your lighting, that's another thing to look at. And, okay, minimize myself. And then make sure that your personal presentation is exactly what you want it to be. Like I say here, it looks intentional. There's a problematic history in America of men telling women to smile and make themselves pretty. So there's no way me as a white man, I don't care how gay I am, that I'm going to tell you to go smile and make yourself pretty. What I'm going to tell you is to use this to manipulate your audience. Right? What do you want? What do you want in life? What do you want from your audience? What do you want? So, and a smile and looking intentional will get you a long way with that. So use that. Whatever that means for your presentations. If you're telling a story, maybe it doesn't mean you're wearing a suit. Maybe it means you're wearing a costume. Maybe it doesn't mean a smile. Maybe it means face paint. Maybe it means a scowl even. Maybe you're a witch. I don't know. But the point is making it intentional. You do not want to show up looking like this. We haven't talked about ethos, logos, and pathos yet, but this is a big strike against ethos, unless that's what the character that this person is going for. I mean, this honestly would take a lot of work to show up looking like this, right? It actually takes a lot of effort. So hopefully this was intentional, but I want to make sure that you show up looking intentional to your shots. Right now, I'm just wearing a tank top and a vest. Right? Do I look intentional to you? Do I look like I showed up ready to film a video for a college course as a professor? That's an interesting question that I want you to be thinking about, right? Do you think I should have worn a button-down shirt? If you have those thoughts in your head while you're looking at me, then you should be wearing a button-down shirt when you film for my class, for sure, because those are thoughts you have for yourself, not me. Those are for yourself. So be thinking about that. What should you be wearing as you present? I clearly do not think that, and I'm a tenure track professor, so I'm fine. But what do you think, right? I'm preparing you for your life and your future. So what do you think? Let's go to the next one. So, and as you perform, you should have your gallery view on. So that's where you can see all the people like this. And you should be looking at the camera, though, the little camera up here. The reason is, so you want the gallery view on so that you can look at the people and you can see how everybody is doing. You can react to them reacting to you, because you need that feedback. That's a big key to performing. But while you're doing that, you need to also be looking at the camera, not at yourself, not at your picture on the screen. Don't look at your picture at all on the screen. If you can turn that off or cover it up, in fact, that's better. But you do need to be able to see all the other people, to see if they're laughing, to see if they're reacting. That's feedback that you'll need. But the main thing is to look at the actual camera, like I'm doing right now when I talk to you. Don't be looking at yourself while you're talking. That's a really common mistake, and it's obvious when it's happening. But a lot of people look at themselves to make sure that they look like they're looking okay. And that's a weird conversation, especially when you are recording something, because you had the choice to look at the camera the entire time, and you should be. If it's a recording, you shouldn't have the gallery view on. There's no gallery to look at. You should never be looking at yourself at all. You should be looking at that camera. You don't want to stare at the camera, though. Laser eyes camera. I see people record YouTube videos that way, and it's unnatural. In a real conversation, people look away from time to time. They give the camera a break. They give the other person's a break from eye contact. You need to do the same thing, like it's natural. There's a guy I watch, Religion for Breakfast is the name of his channel, and he like stares at it. He won't even turn his head. And I wish I knew him so I could reach out and be like, oh no, buddy, you need to look away from time to time like this, like as if you're having a real conversation with people. Otherwise, it's a little much. So it's a balance. It's a balance. Try it out. You're going to watch your own videos later. You're going to reflect on yourself, and you're going to learn. So that's this class. Hopefully that makes sense. So let's keep going. I think we are. And the last thing, how to use notes and timers. So this is key. If you are remote like this is the biggest advantage you have, is that you can use a timer. So you might be like this woman in a call or in a meeting online, but those people who are in that call with you, they only see what that camera shows. So you could have a little stopwatch sitting next to your cup of coffee, hanging over. You could be covering up this whole woman's face. You could be doing anything you want. And that's the same is true when you are performing or recording a video for this, or performing live, like if you're performing in your job interview or something online. So you could have your notes taped to your screen or just hanging like up here right by your camera. You could have a clock hanging right by your camera. You could have things propped up right up here. You could use all of that, right? Because especially if it's a recording, the only reason you would need the screen is for maybe notes. So use it for notes. But better yet, use it for like timers and stuff, and have your notes in your hand like a normal piece of paper, like card notes, that you're only using to really glance at from time to time. Treat it like a regular speech, because this is something you already know about. You're talking about a co-culture that you already are an expert on. You're talking about persuading us about something you already are an expert on. You're already an expert on these topics. So hopefully you already know this stuff. So focus on giving the best speech you can, right? And use a timer. Use an actual little clock. Use your phone if you're not using it to record, but use something like that. Have your entire laptop screen be a timer. Cheat. Like, if I'm calling it cheating, but it's not. None of that is cheating. It's just using the tools you have. All of these are completely appropriate. If you were recording your video and you had a friend sitting there with a stopwatch, like giving you hand signals, telling you when you're almost out of time, that's 100% okay. Like, don't think that you can't do any of these things. Use the tools that you have available to you to make the videos that you can, because that's what will help you in real life, right? In this class, you're getting the skills that will help you to land the job and to use these skills and in your life for fun and for profit. So I want you to be learning those now, what works best for you. There is no one way to do this. Public speaking there's a 7 to 8 billion ways to get good at it. And I'm giving you the basics through this class. So you need to learn what works best for you, right? All right. So I think next is just to summarize. Yeah. So to sum up everything, make your background intentional. Don't use digital backgrounds, please, 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 if you can creatively frame your shot. If you cannot creatively frame your shot and you find yourself stuck in a position where all you can do is a white, horribly boring background, maybe do something with a digital background. I don't know. I'm not going to tell you can't use one. I won't mark you down for using one in this class. And if you can't clean up your background, maybe it's a good idea. It's just, they're scary. If you do use one, understand that any props you show, you're going to have to show right at the same distance that you are from your camera. Put your camera at eye level, so make sure it's not too high, too low. Frame yourself in your shot. Be aware of your lighting, and make sure you watch your video again before you post it, because lighting can be a trick. And make sure your personal presentation is intentional. You look like you want to look. With gallery view, make sure you can see the camera. Always give the camera eye contact, and use a timer. Use notes. Use everything at your disposal. Ask me if you have any questions at all through any of this.